Today's video is all about Neon EVM, the most scalable and cost-efficient EVM with direct access to Solana liquidity. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, figuring out whether it has what it takes to make it to our portfolio for the up-and-coming bull run. We're going to be looking at the value proposition, the tokenomics, the team, and much more. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. And of course, today's all about Neon EVM. Is this an opportunity? Should we be packing our bags for the up and coming bull run? And let's see if this project has what it takes. Okay, first off, we're going to be looking at the overall website and using it as the main platform to go through this project and see if the team did a good job giving us the information we need in order to get bullish. And then we're going to be looking at some of these details, guys. Overall, you know, I think the price action in the last little while has been really good with Neon, and of course we'll look at the price action towards the end of the video. But for now, we need to get fundamentally bullish, and let's see if it has what it takes. First of all, the first thing that comes to mind is the overall narrative. The overall narrative is Solana. Of course, Solana right now is a very hot narrative. The overall ecosystem is really hot, and many individuals are talking about Solana. So this could be a good thing. A lot of hype, a lot of interest, a lot of market participation. This is what we're really looking for: hot narratives to get the hype, and then also to start looking for the fundamentals. So right now we definitely do have a bit of hype here, given the fact that it's following the Solana bandwagon type, so to speak. Okay, so the first paralyzed EVM, okay, so that's an important thing to understand, is at the end of the day, it is built on the Solana network. This project is built on Solana using a language called Rust. And with that being said, basically any Solana contract or any Solana project is not EVM compatible. But what Neon does, it makes Solana projects compatible with Ethereum, and Ethereum projects compatible with Solana. So in that case, you have that scenario where making Solana projects compatible is very valuable. So this concept enhances the interoperability between the two chains, and ultimately the scalability is one of the issues that Ethereum has. And given that Solana definitely offers some solutions to that scalability issue, we know the transaction fees are low, and at the end of the day, there's not much, the gas fees are low. That's the most important thing that a lot of people are talking about in the last little while with regards to Ethereum's weakness. Now, if we have the scenario where we can use the Solana chain while still benefiting by the Ethereum ecosystem and its network effect, it is definitely a good value proposition here. Neon has what it takes right now to really sell this concept and this idea. Okay, so a very important narrative is who and what is going to take over Ethereum, if that is even possible, right? We've seen a lot of layer 2s already in existence, beginning with Polygon Matic, coming in and doing its thing, taking a big portion of the market under its wing. And then all of a sudden we got Optimism and Arbitrum doing its thing as well as a layer 2 solution to Ethereum. And then all of a sudden now we have many others, one of which is Neon, and offering a direct connection using Solana. So guys, this is an interesting value proposition. I really do think that this is the most valuable aspect of this project, is the utility of what it's trying to give, or the solution to the problem that is trying to provide to the general public. So this is a good thing. All right, guys, let's move on. Let's continue going down here. We have an ecosystem. We got to be very critical about the ecosystem. I know there's Pith Network and Moraswap and Pools Finance and COVID, and there's many here, so we can take a look at that. You know what? We'll open this up in a new tab, and then we'll keep on going down. And Neon is fully Ethereum compatible environment on Solana. So exactly what I mentioned here, this interoperability and this, back and forth thing. And what's really good is that they're both able to leverage what they're good at. Means, for example, Ethereum's infrastructure, we know that's the largest. Tools, Ethereum like Web3 APIs, Ethereum ERC20 tokens, Solidity smart contracts. Those are the most common. Solidity right now is an easy language and is the most common language to program smart contracts in. Whereas if you go on the other side of the spectrum, you have other blockchains that use other languages like Rust and so on that make things a little bit more difficult. And imagine if we were able to translate or basically get the Ethereum based smart contracts like Solidity smart contracts into the Solana blockchain, and that way we can benefit from those projects by lower transaction fees, higher speeds of transaction speeds. That's a very important thing. And of course, user base and liquidity all available on Solana will be kind of used back and forth. This is a good thing, guys. This is a good thing. Starting using with Neon, you can see white papers, docs. I think I got this open already, GitHub, and so on. The advantages of Neon. So easy smart contract adaption. We talked about this already. Similar smart contract languages. We talked about that already. Solidity and Viper. This is good. First EVM on Solana. Interesting stuff there. So now again, we can bring Ethereum-based smart contracts to Solana. Scalability. We talked about that, and you see that overall, it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense what Neon is trying to do here. So good stuff. One thing to note is that the overall Neon project is governed by a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, which is a good thing because ultimately some of the decision making can be basically given, put to vote. Basically, token holders can vote on some of the decisions that are happening to with the foundation, with the team itself, and where some of the funds are going to be allocated, and some of the visions for the roadmap and so on. So a lot of good voting. Decentralizing the authority is something that is very popular nowadays. However, guys, what we really do need to understand is the tokenomics, and we'll talk about the tokenomics in a few minutes, because I think the tokenomics are going to give us a bit of an understanding. Although the structure right now is decentralized with the DAO, the overall tokenomics doesn't really support that. Okay, so we're going to talk about that in a bit of a second. Neon roadmap is really spot on. I really do like this. Nice timing. It gives us a little bit of an idea of what they're basically tackling at what point in time. Right now, they're in post beta and neon ecosystem growth, which we can see that the ecosystem is a bit small, but it's okay. We know that we're in a small project. We're talking about a small project overall. We have some aspects that are still in the works, like the interoperability with Solana smart contracts, grants and programs. They're trying to support the ecosystem. And then if you look at the next one, which is Gamma, starts in 2024, just right around the corner, literally. Neon EVM full compatibility. So by putting that statement in, it just basically insinuates that maybe it's not even EVM fully compatible just yet. So there's some things that need to be updated or upgraded or maybe enhanced in order to achieve that full compatibility. So there is something to look forward to in the near future. So I think that ultimately the goal is that to become fully EVM compatible, and as you can see based on the roadmap, they are almost there. So good stuff for Neon's roadmap. I give it a good thumbs up right there. Join the Neon ecosystem. You can definitely look in there if you want to become an operator, if you want to start building dApps and so on. There's a lot of support here if you want to do that build and get in touch and so on. There's a Discord that they're fairly active on, and there's an incentivization to get active by rewarding active members on the Discord by issuing points. So you can see a bit of an active community, and given the fact that it is a small project, to see the activity kind of grow that way is a positive thing with regards to socials. And we'll talk about socials as well in a second. We'll kind of go through this. So sign up for the project updates and so on. Okay, so a pretty clear website so far. There were a few tabs that I wanted to take a look at, like the ecosystem, and the audit checks are good. Let's see what we got here. Developers, home, we did that. Events, there's the blog. I got a few blog posts opened up on the side already that we can take a look at. And the Explorer, let's take a look at that. And careers and frequently asked questions. Guys, feel free to check that out as well. Okay, so let's kind of look at this. This is the ecosystem. What I really don't like is when projects start putting MetaMask when they start putting Gate, when they start putting, you know, and the list goes on. Exchanges are not partnerships. They're not ecosystems per se. They may be supporting or there's a relationship there, but we got to be really clear as what value are they offering by being on Gate, for example. Yes, liquidity is there, but honestly, there's no real value proposition. There's Ledger, of course, that's for convenience and all of that, but that's not an ecosystem project. What exactly is being built on the Neon ecosystem, right? This is part of every crypto's ecosystem pretty much. Eventually they get supported on wallets and so on. What is exclusive? What is some of these things that we can expect from the Neon team to kind of make these relationships scaffold Neon to the next level? That's the thing. So we got some that are coming soon. You can see Leverify, XDAO, and a couple others you know, that are new. But if you kind of weed out some of the ones that shouldn't be here, like Gate and so on, and some other wallets, you can see that there's a very limited selection here as far as the ecosystem. The ecosystem is still in its growth phase. We got to be real on that. Just we even saw it on the roadmap. It's to kind of fuel this ecosystem to the next level. And of course, as the ecosystem grows, the token will have a lot more utility. As of now, the utility is not really there. I don't see it just yet. We got to understand though, it is a new project, so don't expect the ecosystem to be massive, but we got to call a spade a spade. The ecosystem is still small. Okay, so that's important. Let's keep on going. We see the scanner. The scanner is cool, but there's missing a very important feature, which is to see the wallet holders. Like, I want to see the top 10 wallets. I want to see the amount of tokens that are going to be held by these wallets. It just gives an idea of where the distribution is set. Like, I want to know how many tokens are being held by the top, let's say 1%. And like, because it's a DAO, that's an important thing, because the DAO will basically be governed by the top, you know, maybe 5% of the token holders. So that's very important. Those wallets need to, that wallet data needs to be provided. Like when you go onto Etherscan, for example, you can literally pull out a pie chart that shows you the top wallets and, you know, how many tokens they hold and so on, and give you an understanding of, you know, the supply shock that could exist if that individual were to basically dump their tokens on the market. Right now, we don't have much of that data, and I don't see it. It's not clear. It's not evident. Now, if it's here somewhere, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be glad to update this video. But as of now, this is something that needs to be readily available. And this is probably the second or third project that I've done deep dives on that really missed the mark on this aspect. And it you know, it starts to make us think, are they trying to hide that the fact that maybe the majority of the tokens are held by a few wallets, guys? And based on the tokenomics, it's very possible that that is the scenario. Okay, we're going to be talking about the tokenomics soon. I think that for me, that's the biggest red flag of the Neon project. However, it's not the worst case, because there are things that balance things off here, and we'll get into those details in a second. Okay, let's move on. The scanner, limited utility. I think you know, a little bit of that focus on the wallets would be great, giving it a 10 out of 10 in that case. All right, let's move on. So there is a white paper, guys. It's, you know, fully fledged white paper, lots of good details. I think that the website does a great job highlighting some of the main things that we want to know. If you want to get more into those technicals, there's a lot here to kind of read over. If you want to look at, you know, transactions, the fees, the this, the that, you know, the overall how it works, the EVM architecture, all the technical aspects. I'm glad that they offer that for individuals that want to take it to the next level. And of course, this deep dive is not going to go that deep. We're here to look at the token itself and if it's good or viable to add to our portfolio. Okay, this is a next level fundamental stuff, guys. Do your research, of course. Let's continue. Neon Labs, what else do we got here? It's a very bullish aspect. Look at these guys. They're a team of happy individuals, as can be seen. They are you know, well, fully doxed. Majority of them are doxed. There's a few oddballs that are not, but generally speaking, they are doxed, which means that we can do research on these guys. You can look at their history, where they worked in the past, their education, what you know, maybe awards or anything that they may have contributed to the Web3 ecosystems out there, and potentially give us a little bit of sense of bullishness that these guys can be held accountable and trusted with this project going forward. You know, the talent is very important important. And I give these guys a decent rating because ultimately they have lots of experience and they've been in the world of crypto for a good while. You know, ultimately I would like a little bit more of a name of these for these guys, of more of a, you know, where they worked, or maybe some projects that they've been involved with partnerships or something. But generally speaking, for a team coming out of the gate, they are decent. So I'm going to give them a good rating there as well. And you can see they offer a whole page for the team, the Neon team and careers. So if you want to do a bit more research, check out their LinkedIn pages. Good stuff there. All right, so what else? We got this. Okay, back into the tokenomics. Unfortunately, the website itself and even the white papers does not get into the details of the tokenomics to the point that I would like, to the depth that I would like, because of course we're trying to figure out whether this token has what it takes. So let's kind of go through this a little bit. There's $1 billion in circulation. Eventually, the max supply will be a fixed supply of $1 billion. So, because that's very important to understand. Eventually, there's a limit. It's not unlimited, right? So it's not inflationary. It's pretty capped at 1 billion. That's the whole point here. The reality is the tokenomics. What is it for? It's meant for payments of fees, so gas essentially, to run transactions, and also for the governance of the DAO. That's it. There's no more utility as of that. Very typical of a layer one, but sometimes there are layer ones that offer a little bit more. Now this is not necessarily a layer one. This is a layer two, right? So you're you're behaving like a layer one, offering scalability solutions, and that's what that's its whole value proposition. And unfortunately, there's not much happening other than that with regards to its utility. So it's going to primarily rely on transactions in order to generate volume, you know, flow. Basically volume in and out. You want buy in and sell, right? So if you're gonna have trading volume, the only trading volume that's going to incentivize that trading volume is going to be basically the fact that it is gas and the fees that are going to be used for paying the transaction. So that's all we can really look forward to as of now. A little bit weak on my end. I wish there was a lot of another mechanism there that could offer a utility to incentivize maybe holding or locking tokens up or staking for whatever the case may be, and that way earning residual, whatever it is. You know, a little bit of something would have been great. What I don't like, guys, ultimately what I really dislike, and I wish I can zoom in here a little bit. Let me give it a shot to zoom in here for you guys. This chart, this pie chart. You know, ultimately my biggest issue here is that the majority of the supply, and if you look at what's happening here, including it just basically the distribution, the majority of the tokens are allotted to early investors or early stakeholders, right? Only 31% can be suggested that it's going to be distributed to ecosystem development. So maybe developers on the chain that want to come up with projects and incentivize those teams to actually get some new dApps being built on a Neon. However, if you look at the public sale, okay, that came out in the public, fine, but was really early on, 24% in the public sale. Early purchasers, those who are those guys, that's a 16% are early purchases. Those are early investors. Who knows who those individuals are? Early contributors, that seems the same. Advisors and service providers, those are all people involved in the early stakeholders. Solana Capital Ventures International, I have no idea what that is. It seems like an organization that basically has a stake in the company, obviously, and they hold tokens. That's another 6%. The founders own 15% of the distribution, and then of course the foundation, treasury, and ecosystem growth. Now what's going to be going on there is that ideally it's going to be governed by a DAO. But if you look at where the tokens are allocated right now, number one, we don't have that on the scanner, but number two, the likelihood is that the majority of the tokens are being held by early purchases or early stakeholders, right? So this is a little bit of an issue in the short term, because really the tokenomics don't really suggest decentralization to its maximum. It's not really a fair launch at the current state. Okay, so that's one of the issues, and one of the major trends in the last little while is fully fair launched platforms or projects. So we got to understand that this is an issue. Basically, the dilution of the price if these tokens were to hit the market by one of these early stakeholders dumping or just selling on the market. Now, I know there's one thing that we have to understand. It's a very critical piece of information, which is the fact that there is a lockup period. Okay, so the vesting period, basically nothing can be sold within that 1 year. So if you look at the early purchases, 1 year. If you look at the early contributors, 1 year lockup, and so on and so on. Everything is pretty much 1 year. So we basically have, even the founders, 1 year. We basically have 1 year to basically hold and not have to worry about tokens hitting the market and diluting the price. Now, is that enough? That's the question. Is that enough? It's pretty much in line with the bull run. It's pretty much in line with potentially the top of the bull run. That could be a bit concerning. So let's say in a year we run up, the crypto market runs up pretty strong within the year, and at the top of the year, when this thing starts to get unlocked, it could be a viable thing to expect to people to start selling, right? Because we would be reaching more or less the top of the market in the bull run. So this is what we have to be concerned with. If you're a holder of this token, you got to really understand that at the end of the day, there's a lot of stake. Basically, there's a lot of tokens being held by early investors, and I'm wondering what they're going to do when their vesting period matures. Okay, so that's what we're going to keep an eye on in the next little while, guys. This for me right now is a bit of a red flag, but nothing too urgent, because I know a lot of us are deep in the green. We've early investors got in early on the price, and all of a sudden now our portfolios are deep in the green, and Neon could be looking for another move to the upside, given the fact that it did get a short-term retracement. So this is something that you got to understand. You have a year's worth of price action to the upside with a decent value proposition. Although this doesn't look the greatest, we have to worry about it later. All right, guys, let's move on. This is where it's at. This is looking good. Let's go back to the website to ensure that we didn't miss anything. Let's go back to the main website. Okay, so we have some documents that we can take a look at. Let's see what this is about. Some documents. I think this is the virtual let's call it a white paper, a virtual white paper, where you can kind of navigate a few things getting started, learn more, EVM compatibility, the JSON, okay, OP, Neon EVM architecture, if you want to get into that, governance, right, voting process, Neon DAO organization, if you want to know a little bit more about the model and how that works. So they do a good job informing the market. The tokens, again, remember what I said, the white paper or this thing, all it really says is one aspect as well that we need to clarify is the transactions fees. 50% go to Solana validators and 50% go to Neon DAO treasury. So at the end of the day, the Neon DAO treasury is going to increase over time how much they hold in order, and eventually the DAO is going to govern where those tokens are going to be allocated in the future, whether they're going to be used for the ecosystem or distributed as rewards again, or whatever the case is. So that's something to keep in mind. That's pretty good. Neon is SPL token data and same time native token on Neon. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Utility, that's basically it. Transactions, and the DAO is the major utility, the governance and the utility right here. The gas fees are low because it's a Solana based project, so that's good. So there's a lot of repetition here and frequently asked questions and so on. Feel free to go and check that out. All right, guys, we did well. Let's take a look at what CoinGecko is showing us with regards to some of this metrics. We can see that Neon right now is taking a slight dip in the last little while. It peaked out at about $3 and change, but right now it's at about $2.27. which is down approximately 50%. We'll look at charts in a little bit more detail, but right now we can see the market cap's at about 133 million. We're doing okay there. And you know, it came down a little bit, but no big deal. Circulating supply, 133 million is not a micro cap. It's a small cap, you know, small going on to mid. I like to think mid is at about 200, 300, give or take. It all depends on how you measure. I don't really include Ethereum into the mix. So I look at large caps being about 2 billion, 3 billion, depending on the token, right? And really those are untouchable in my opinion. If you think that they're going to be volatile to make you massive gains, that's why I kind of make my spectrum a little bit, the bell curve balanced towards lower cap altcoins. Like right now, this is a little bit small, no doubt, but it's not a micro cap in my opinion. Still could do very, very well if it's going to compete with, for example, Polygon Matic. Imagine that if it catches up to Polygon or even Optimism or anything like that, it will do very well. So that's something to consider. But look at that circulating supply. The circulating supply is no more than 50-60 million units, which means that ultimately there's very little. There's a billion max total, so we are about what, 5% give or take out there, which is a very, very little, right? We don't have a lot of tokens in distribution, which is a bit problematic. And we're going to go through this in a little bit more detail again once I show you that infographic that I create every time I do a deep dive. I will be posting that infographic out on socials, so pay attention to that one. But ultimately, this is where we're at. We can see that we have some exchanges here, Bybit, Gate, and Bitmart, and a few others in between. Not bad. Ultimately, there's a few more trading per Orca if you want to go on a DEX, and CoinEx, Bitmart. There's a few here, so that's pretty good. Not too bad, but they're all small. Okay, the biggest one in my opinion would be Bybit, and you can see that they have the largest volume. And Gate, I'm on the fence about Gate. I don't really trust their numbers, but I'm not trying to spread FUD here, but ultimately I moved away from Gate. Didn't really like the way they operate. So nonetheless, okay, but still very, very small, low liquidity exchanges. Still, we're waiting for bigger exchanges to offer some of that value or some of that volume that we're looking for, so that ultimately we can understand that we got that liquidity. Okay, so let's get out of this. What else do we have? The Discord is doing links are there, Solana is the chain, and so on. All right, guys, let's take a look at that infographic that I give you guys. This is it. So my overall verdict, ultimately, guys, it all depends on its state. Right now, we got to put one thing in mind, is that Neon is very small. It's in its early phases, right? And now the price is not. The price ran up significantly because of the hype based on Solana and the overall narrative that is trying to EVM compatibility to Solana, which is obviously a good thing. But ultimately, as far as its state, I think it's slightly overvalued in the short term. It doesn't mean that it has to dip. It can stay overvalued for a good amount of time, leading right into the bull run, because it's all about hype. And at the end of the day, if the project is good, if the value proposition is high, expect the hype to continue. So let's continue going on here. The ecosystem is very small. Whoa, what did I do here? Let's kind of go back here. This is a previous one, previous deep dives. You can see I've been doing deep dives every Sunday, but I'm just plugging these in. You can see that. But back to Neon. Neon, at the end of the day, you can see that ecosystem is very small. Okay, it's almost like a vague as to what belongs to their ecosystem. They got a lot of things going on there, but I did see Neon Pass, which is primarily the major thing that I see there, is the ability to basically transfer tokens between Solana and Neon EVM, which for me is part of the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes of this project. So we can see that the ecosystem small but growing, and of course I'm going to give it 6 out of 10 just because it's still in its growth phase, and I feel like there's a lot still that needs to be done to prove to the market that this ecosystem is here to stay. We need a viable ecosystem to give the token utility and ultimately its value. So as of yet, I think a lot of the value of the token is stemming from the hype and the narrative, the Solana narrative. Okay, so that's an important thing to identify. The utility tokens made for payments and transactions and representing a vote in the DAO. That's all it really is. There's no more. I usually see a little bit more utility and a little bit more something as far as giving people some bullish aspect, right? There's nothing really there other than that. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 there. And the roadmap, though, is really good. Nice and clear, straightforward, hitting all their targets. They got a clear vision for the future. They're almost finishing up on their current let's say objectives, which is good, and ultimately 10 out of 10 for that. The team is decent. At least they're fully doxed, guys, fully doxed. And given the fact that their tokenomics are not the strongest at the current state, the fact that they're fully doxed makes things a little bit better, right? So it is a strong team with some experience in the blockchain space, and ultimately I give it an 8 out of 10. It's a decent rating for a decent team. The socials, not bad whatsoever, pretty good in fact. The Discord could use a little bit more excitement. There is a bit of negativity as far as their X posts, and the last little while we've seen them come down approximately 6%, in the sense that they as a team are not active on Twitter, on X, as much as they were in the last the previous 30 days. So in the current 30 days period, we've seen a bit of basically they've been cooling down. They've been losing a little bit of that steam, posting on X and getting a bit of exposure there. However, the amount of followers that they have are up approximately 90% in the last 30 days in comparison to the previous. So this is pretty good overall. You can see that the socials, they're very small, 24,000 subscribers or followers, and I think that's just indicative of the fact that they are a small project and a small team. So just keep on going, keep on doing their thing. The Discord, they got a good reward system with points and so on to get people active on the Discord, which is a very important thing. Getting people active in the community can create that hype that they really need in order to get this thing really running even further, right? Because this has been running, Neon, it's been doing good price action wise. Tokenomics, I would say approximately 70% of the tokens are in control of the early stakeholders, which bothers me, give or take. Again, what we define an early stakeholder can be a bit vague and so on, but when you look at a DAO and you look at the tokens being distributed the way they are, and then you start looking at the fact that there's no Etherscan or scanner to tell us how many tokens are being held by particular wallets, it starts to lead me to believe that there is a bit of ambiguity there that we should be aware of, right? So I'm not saying that there's going to be a rug pull or anything like that, but I am saying that if we can't see which wallets hold the amount of tokens, how can we trust the decision making behind the DAO? We don't know the token holders, we don't know how many who's making the decisions behind the DAO, and ultimately that's a lot of tokens to worry about. But the good news is we don't have to worry about it anytime soon. By the time a year passes, which is the locking period, the vesting period, so basically, all the token holders that got in early are going to have to hold those tokens for a year, which gives, some time for this issue to resolve itself. There could be updates. There could be, something happening here where the tokens or the scenario gives us some time to at least let the Neon price continue running into the bull run. And as I mentioned, the 1 year time frame leads us probably right into around the top of the bull run, where maybe, taking profit or putting a stop loss in just in case there is a dump and supply shock, we could definitely take a defensive strategy to protect the gain. So ultimately looking okay for the tokenomics in the short term, but in the long term, guys, don't sleep on that, because that unlock is going to be a bit scary in my opinion. Partnerships, there's a few here and there, but again, very in line with the fact that they're small, all bridge and D bridge, and the fact that they're both bridges are really good. And there's a few other partnerships that could be put on this list, but one of the things that I don't like what teams do, they're not clear about their strategic partnerships and their relationships. They couple them all in, they put them all into one pile. If they're able to put their token on MetaMask, all of a sudden MetaMask is a partner. Guys, if there's any way that we can get these teams to really separate the categories of the relationships, so we can see what is a strategic partnership and what is a relationship, it would be a lot better to assess their partnerships properly. So in this case, Albridge and D-Bridge seem to be viable partnerships, and if there are any others, this is why it's important to make them clear, because that way they won't be overlooked and missed. Okay, so 7 out of 10 for those two. I still feel like it's a very small project as well, ecosystem here for Neon, and at the same time, they're probably looking for more active partnerships that are strategic, that can scaffold them to the next level. Okay, exchanges. Again, new project, low volume, only Bybit, Bitmark, Gate, and there's a little bit more to be said, because if this thing gets listed on a major exchange like even Coinbase or Binance or any big exchange, even KuCoin wouldn't be that bad. You would see a lot more volume here. You would see a lot more interest, and at the end of the day, market participation, and that would be very healthy for the Neon price. So we're going to keep an eye out for that. If we do get any news of new releases or new listings, we'll definitely jump on that aspect. And we already kind of talked about this. Neon right now, its current price is at about $2.30. It is fluctuating, it is on a retracement, and it could be looking for a bounce any moment now. So what we really have to understand is that we're waiting for a corrective move across the market ultimately, and we're seeing that some of the projects that ran up really hard in the last little while are retracing anyhow, right, despite that. But we have to understand that Neon has been pumping moving up really good. So that's it, pretty good. This fully diluted price, in my opinion, it looks slightly overvalued at about 2.3 billion, but let's see what this retracement does and how low we could go, and ultimately it could be a very hot project for the up and coming bull run. Okay, some other notes based on my verdict. It's built on Solana, just to repeat. It's built on Solana using a programming language called Rust, which makes things non-EVM compatible. But what they have done is created a scenario where the both chains can communicate in its and become EVM compatible. So Solana can now become EVM compatible, allowing for Ethereum-based projects to basically run on Solana in such a way that now we can benefit from the low fees. It's a layer 2 like Optimism and Arbitrum and Polygon Matic and so on, just that it uses Solana, which is obviously a hot topic. Providing EVM compatibility is the hottest thing right now for this project. I think this is what is really propelling the price to the next level. Forget the tokenomics. People are overlooking that because they got a year of time to worry about that later. And looking at the team, they're young, so you can expect the ecosystems to be small and so on and so on. And the listing on exchanges, all of that is explainable and acceptable, but the value proposition right here of that interoperability or that EVM compatibility is super stellar, and this could be just the only thing it needs to keep the price going to the upside. So keep this in mind. Solana ecosystem is a hot narrative. DAO governance, it seems like a DAO is a very decentralized way to govern a project, and I do agree. However, when the tokens are not evenly distributed, it becomes where a few individuals have a lot of control over what the DAO does and the decisions of the DAO, because it's all about voting. And if tokens are how you vote, the largest token holders are going to have control over the DAO. Now, one thing that you got to consider is that, again, there's no real token wallet distribute. You can't even see which wallets hold the amount of tokens, because we want to see how much of that power is distributed amongst token holders. And at this current moment, there's no data on there on the scanner. So what we really need is either, number one, if it is there, to make it very clear where to find it, and number two, if it's not there, that the team gets on board and gets that going on their scanner. Because a lot of people that are doing deep dives now, they want to ensure that it's not a rug pull. And again, I'm not saying that it is a rug pull, but that data would make us feel a lot better. All we're really looking for is data to improve our risk to reward ratio. If the reward is high, which we can see it could be based on its value proposition, but what is the risk? And the risk is right now is the lack of information. As soon as that information is provided, we have less risk, and that way the risk to reward ratio improves. So let's think about it like that, guys. Okay, so good effort on building community. Definitely a very smart mechanism on the Discord, and somewhat active on Twitter, but the Discord community has a lot of potential. They need just to keep on going there and putting in those marketing efforts on the Discord. That's a hot and up and coming way of building community for the. I think that's going to be the hottest way to do it in this bull run. Token holders distributing data needs to be available. I already mentioned that. Many of the token holders control the stake. We talked about that. And supply shock is protected within 1 year. We talked about that. So we don't have to worry about a supply shock because there's a lock period of 1 year. Okay, so that's good. Now my target. Now the target is based off of Matic, and the fact that Matic, where it is currently, remember that Matic, is doing okay right now. We're in a good state with the Matic price, but ultimately it's not in at previous high or in price discovery just yet. Now we're going to use its current state. Its current state would suggest that Neon could make a 56x just to catch up to its current state of Matic. Now that would still be a very healthy thing right now for Neon itself. That would mean that we would probably get the price to about $162. Now, in a bull run, we expect that Neon not only catch up to Matic, but also beat Matic, perhaps? And how much of the total market cap is going to be allocated to Neon? So right now we're at about, $1 trillion market cap, maybe slightly above. And at the top, we were about 3 trillion. Okay, or slightly above or below, give or take. Now all of a sudden we get into a bull run, we start looking for higher highs. Maybe we get into a $5 trillion market cap, total market cap, right? And if that were to be the case, we got to ask ourselves, who is going to be, which project is going to take the majority of those extra $2 trillion of total market cap? And of course, Neon, Matic, all the layer twos are going to be fighting for that market cap. And the question is, does Neon have what it takes to take a bigger piece of the pie and catch up to Matic, or even surpass Matic, or surpass Optimism and Arbitrum and all the other layer 2 solutions out there? That is the question. That's why I'm very reserved and very, let's say, modest about my targets, because ultimately, if Neon does a 50x, that is a great gain. That's amazing green price action. So let's be modest about it. We'll watch the charts. We'll see where Neon gets to. If we see signs of weakness in the market, we'll start getting defensive. But as of now, I wouldn't be surprised to see Neon easily hit about $150 for sure. I give this project a 7 out of 10, obviously, because there's a few things that need to be worked out, and there's a few layers of ambiguity that need to be kind of brought to light. But it is a new project, and because of the lack of information and the lack of track record, we have to be a little bit modest here and protective, and I give it a 7 out of 10. Guys, pretty good. Guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's look at some of this price action. Let's see what Neon is up to. Neon retracing, guys. As of now, Neon has been coming down after a huge rally to the upside. Guys, this is the name of the game. Whatever goes up really hard usually comes down equally as hard. But the thing is that now that it has retraced, is it time to be buying the dip? Guys, let's look at this in a little bit more detail and see what's going on here. You can see that Neon did retrace, no doubt, and we're seeing that the volume profile is not even giving us a registry, like not even registering any data right here. You can see that, like very little. I had to zoom in a little bit to kind of get more of it, and if we kind of bring it closer, you might be able to see it. And you know what I mean? Like, ultimately, this is very weak. The real level of support starts to come in down here, and unfortunately, that's a huge retracement. But I don't think it's going to come down there. I think that eventually we might get some support at around $2. Okay, that would be a great level to expect a dip, because as of now here on the daily, there's no indication that it's done. It's cascading, it's falling. Look at the RSI. The RSI is pushing down, and the MACD right now is looking ready to come down, right? It's not down just yet. We can get another impulsive move to the upside within a shorter term time frame, like the 4 hour, the 1 hour, and see a bit of a jitter to the upside. But ultimately, based on this daily, eventually all of that noise in between within the day is going to lead to a continuation to the downside, and the signal would be a nice EMA cross here on the MACD, and at least one little red histogram bar would give us that signal here on the MACD. Okay, so I'm going to be very patient for that one. But if we start looking at the RSI is leaving this condition, this overbought condition, and obviously falling down to oversold. But look at the last time it has done this. Got overbought, came down to oversold, jittered a little bit, came back overbought, came back lower, jittered a bit, came back up. So we're back at potential bottom of the range momentum. Now, does this mean that potentially we go for another impulsive move to the upside? And it's very possible that that happens, because when we're in bullish conditions and we see price action looking really bullish, we stay in overbought conditions a lot longer than expected. So here on the daily, it could be possible, right? A full reset, I think that it's already reset on lower time frames. Okay, so let's just keep in mind that that's the case. Now, I wish I was able to put in a horizontal support. The next level of horizontal support is down here. Okay, so I'm going to make these green, because if we do come down there, unfortunately, that would be a very unfortunate price target, but I would be really interested in scaling them, to be honest. The next level that I'm interested in scaling in is obviously this current little dip, or this little area right here. Now, I'm wondering, which is very confluent with about $2. I'm going to put it at $2 just so that I have that psychological level. We have the 200, so we have the 50 EMA. No, this is the 20 EMA right here on the daily, just kind of coming up and doing its thing, maybe acting as confluence for a nice level of support in the future. But ultimately, guys, this is the zone that I'm going to be watching out for if I get any signs of oversold conditions. Not on the daily, guys. The dailies are going to take some more time. If the daily gets oversold, it's likely we're coming down to about $1, maybe even lower, maybe as low as 66 cents. That could actually happen. Okay, so let's watch out here. But ultimately, the reset on the 4 hour could give us a nice little bounce to the upside to test the previous high, to see if actually we make a higher high or if we make a lower high, giving us our first indication that maybe this could be a pivot point to the downside. So ultimately, what I'm saying here is we don't have enough data, especially on the daily. The 4 hour, we're working on it. It's still it looks like an ABC correction, A, B, C, you know, this little retracement right in the middle, and now maybe this corrective move is done, and now we're going to be looking for some support, looking for an inverse head and shoulder, a cup and handle, an Adam and Eve pattern with nice signs of bullish divergence right around this horizontal. I would be interested. Now I'm going to bring this down just a little bit, but ultimately the $2 mark is something that I'm really curious about. So what I'm going to also do is I'm going to be putting a notification, an alert, because if it gets there, I want to know. I want to be scaling in even further. So let's wait for this oversold condition. Now, one thing I really want to bring to your attention as well is that we haven't gotten oversold for a good while here on the RSI. Look at this. RSI has never really gotten there. We went up, and now the question is, do we come down and start getting that dip, that retracement, and start getting oversold? And that would be the opportunity to scale in on that fire sale, on that low price action that we can really make a difference for a nice bounce into the bull run. That's what we're really looking for. So this is the 4 hour, and the MACD on the 4 hour is still facing down. EMAs are down, red histogram bars are down, so no real indication of support just yet. So don't try to catch that falling knife, because at this moment we're not getting anything. What we need is an indication that we bottomed out. Nice bullish divergence, but better yet, let's get a confirmation low. Let's at least get one confirmation low that is a higher low, and that would get me super bullish. So I'm going to keep you posted on this, of course, on the channel. I'll be releasing updates along the way. Join me live at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you want to follow me on those socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join that Discord. The Discord is a great community, lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, you know what you got to do is slap that like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.